I wanted to comment on Gachagwa's comment at the DP's mansion in Mombasa, especially bearing in mind that he attacked the Director General of NIS, Nordin Haji. There is a problem with the unprecedented things, is that you make an expert opinion. If something has happened 4 or 5 times, you'd look at the way they ended up and determine and make a choice. But this is something that everybody was surprised, and as I've said, it was unprecedented. He has disclosed more than was needed. Actually, to an extent of even mentioning the Director General and mentioning the 3 directors who have been transferred and 13 whatever. I think he disclosed more than he was supposed to disclose. But knowing politics and also being a former intelligence officer, I would advise Nordin Haji to pack and go. But the way I know him, Nordin Haji is a strong-willed person. But in intelligence, if your identity has been blown, then the best thing is to move out. I expect such events to have heads rolling in security, but especially the intelligence. I expect the National Intelligence Headquarters to have a drastic change. I'll elaborate that later. I also expect the Nairobi Command of Intelligence for heads to roll. It will roll because of 2 things. One, it will roll because such an embarrassment in the country would lead to heads rolling, especially in the intelligence. But you see, the advantage that we have is that the heads can roll, 90% can go, 10% remain, but nobody notices. But in other departments, 5% goes, 95% remain, but everybody notices. So, because of 2 reasons. One reason, expect heads to roll because of what has happened. And also expect heads to roll because the DP has come out publicly. The DP came out publicly. It was a calculated move. He knows that because his position gives him a right to pull the strings under the table. But he used it publicly because he has placed the president in such a situation that, you see, if you do it below the table, the president may delay taking action or may not even take action. But doing it publicly, you are now compelling the president to do something. And not just to do something, but to do something overtly. You remember, I was the first person to endorse Nordin Haji to be the Director General. My points still stand because of 2 reasons. One, I always believe, like the head of prison now is a military man. We have had 2 or more policemen heading prisons. We have had an army man heading the police. With the current AP boss was the Kiganjo commandant. Actually, he left Kiganjo to become the AP boss. I said that, and I still stand by that we should have a situation where people who grew up professionally within the profession see one of them going there. Of course, there is advantages and disadvantages, But advantages outweigh the disadvantages. I have just come to learn within a few hours ago that before he became the DPP, Nurdin Haji was number 3 in NSI. In NIS, he was number 3. So he left there, he became the DPP. And then again he came back, whereby he overlapped some number 2s. I have worked in the police. My father has worked in the police. I don't know, because according to the deputy president, Nurdin Haj had this inferiority complex. Yes, in the army we have the TENGE rules, no overtaking. But in the police, I know of so many people. Just to give an example, a person like the person who was my father's boss in Garissa, Mr. Kola, used to be an inspector under my father. But when we were in Garissa, my father gave him respect. So in police, we are trained and we are used to. Somebody can be your recruit and he overtakes you. And most of the smartest salutes I ever had are those of people who mentored me. And I remember some people, including the late Victor Mnigwi, who used to say, kijana, wacha nikufundishe kazi, siku moja utakuwa mkubwa wangu. So if it is true that Haji had this inferiority complex, then he is to blame. Because you go there, your deputy, I remember, you work somewhere, your immediate junior used to be your father's deputy. You just go there and tell him, mzee, kazi kiharibika hapa, na rafiki yako ameritaya kwa nyumbani, anajua uliacha mtoto wake. You leave him to decide things for you. You leave him to, that is why we have warrant officers in the army. These are people who have worked for so many years but cannot be commissioned. So when you are a general, you call that very junior person warrant officer. He decides for you. It is only for you to implement. Meaning that you are the boss does not mean that you know everything and you are junior. Your juniors may know more than you. And in fact, I remember there's a time where one time I'll talk about Mr. Lati. There's a time Mr. Lati used to call me to his office and he used to tell me that the fact that I am the boss here in this province does not mean that I have the monopoly of ideas. And then he would discuss with me problems of officers who are 3 ranks higher than me. He'd say there is an SSP and another SSP working up, but not telling me who they are. This one has this problem, this one has this problem. Now, if you are here, what would you do? And I would just tell him. They say, hey, you have just thought the way I was thinking. There are even times when we used to have problems where the boss was to decide. So he would tell me, we would discuss with him and he would tell me what he has decided. Before we even go to the meeting, he says, we discussed just 2. And I tell him this is and this, and then he says, yeah. And then we agree on something. And then he tells me, when we go to that meeting, don't talk. Don't comment anything, just keep quiet. We go to it was room number 15. We go to room number 15 conference room. He brings up the issue. When he brings up the issue, he tells me to take a paper and a pen. Advantage ya kuwa form 6. He tells me to take a paper and pen and tells people, can we start discussing how we can solve this problem? So and so can say, and then he tells people, have we agreed that point number this we write down? People say, yeah, we have agreed. Then he tells me, write that point down. I write. So at the end of the time, he tells me to stand up and read what we had agreed. Then when I've read that, they clap, they say, yeah, that is what we have agreed. Then he says, that is what we are going to do. JI-TENGE, can you follow me to the office? I follow him to the office. People think that we are going to type what I've just said, what we have just written. But then he tells me to remove the paper that we had discussed earlier and compare. You'll find that over 80% is what he had decided. But he didn't tell them this is what we're going to do. He told them, can we discuss as if we are equals? So this thing about Nordin feeling inferior, chasing away directors to desk work, and then the deputy directors, you see, that one contributed because these directors and their deputies have intelligence officers who are loyal to them. They have intelligence officers who are loyal to them. So you chase them, you have affected the loyalty of those officers under them. Another thing I have to say is that we are also getting profit or reaping the fruits of what happened some years back. Some years back, intelligence officers knew that from Nyati House they just go home. But the government opened a floodgate where intelligence officers got better jobs than even the same job group. You know, if you are 7 or 8 who are competent to be director general, the question was looking left and right to see who would. I think I can do better than him. I think she can do, you know. And then they reach a place and say, no, we can't even reach the director because Kivuvani was the last internal person to be taken as an intelligence, as the director of intelligence. Military people now started. So you find that their morale also went down because they knew that the cream would be taken over by military intelligence people. So the idea of bringing Haji, a professional intelligence officer, was good. But Haji, even though he's a strong-willed person, that is what I think, Haji should also come up with an idea of consultation. Consultation, they consult with the juniors. In fact, if there is any formation where a junior person is as important as a senior person, that is the intelligence. The intelligence, if you were to take a constable in, even GSU or AP, take him to meet the regional police commander. You'd just see the way that person behaves and whatever. He's shaky, he's afraid, he's whatever. But with the NIS, you'll find a constable talking to the director general himself, even pocketing. So it was really bad. It was really bad for Nordin Haji to have that inferiority complex in case he had a inferiority complex. Another thing I would say, there are very few people who can put who can, even intelligence officers. If you took him to a gallery and tell him, can you show us the picture of Kanyotu? Can you show us the picture of Kivuvani? All intelligence officers, you'd find that very few people can identify the DI. So director of intelligence, being somebody whom when he's walking on the street people know, I think we should, the next one should be somebody whom very few people know. I want also to say that yes, we failed. The NIS failed. NIS failed. This thing came out suddenly. This thing came out suddenly, as if we were not there. And the intelligence has a big budget. And that is, you remember me talking about confidential budget. They should have even recruited, and when I was talking of confidential budget, I was talking of somebody on the border of Somalia who has people inside Doble Al-Shabaab camp monitoring everything. The intelligence reached a place where they were strictly taking people with the diploma and above. But recently, Nordin Haji did a very good thing, started even recruiting the illiterate. Because the illiterate, these Gen Z cannot go and work at Nauyapong. They cannot work in Nauyapong. So we need those people who are not even primary school leavers. Then on the second part, we have to look at it, is that even this Gen Z, even in this Gen Z, we are supposed to have them. We are supposed to recruit them. We are supposed to have them tell us at a price. Tell us at a price the way things are happening, the way the youths are feeling, the way the youths are leading, and the way we can handle the youth. I don't know where they take that money. That they should concentrate on that, so that at any given time, you have the NIS gives they give the intelligence, and the government acts. From where I'm standing, I can bet the intelligence never briefed the intelligence never briefed the government of what was going to happen. I know in the past we used to brief the government, and some of the things the government would ignore with impunity. But this time I believe they did not pass the information. Actually, they may. I would not be shocked if they are more surprised than I and you.